You know the classic saying, an eye for an eye makes homeworld go blind. Welcome back to Crystal Clear on the Roundtable. I'm AwestruckVox, and today I want to talk about a theory that I already considered talking about, but has started to gain some traction and evidence that I failed to notice prior. I really enjoyed the episode Pool Hopping because it was the first Garnet-focused episode in literal years, developing her character as a leader rather than a fusion. This is something we needed, as I began to resent her involvement in episodes, as her role would be reduced to the fusion lesson of the day, or comic relief. Garnet deserves way better than that, but I digress. The third act of this episode introduced a very unique stray cat that Garnet adopts during the resolution, dubbing the feline as Cat Steven. Now, Cat Steven is interesting for a variety of reasons. 1, she shares the same name as our protagonist. 2, she's a calico cat, as in her fur is predominantly white with patches of 2 other colors, which is often, you guessed it, orange and black. 3rd, not only is she missing her right eye, but it's clearly the result of damage as there's a visible scar. Cat Steven's missing right eye, in conjunction with sharing the name of our titular character, has presented the possibility of Steven losing his own right eye at some point in the series. This adorable animal isn't just a delightful addition to the cast, but elaborate foreshadowing to a major event nearing in the series. Also, to derail for a second, can we talk about how quickly we're racking up pets in the series? At first we just had Lion, then season 4 saw the addition of Pumpkin, who was residing at the barn with Lapis and Peridot, but now lives in the temple with Peridot, following Lapis' departure into space. And now a season later we have Cat Steven, owned by Garnet. Hell, by the end of the episode we already saw Cat Steven resting on top of Lion, which melted my heart. Who's next to get a pet? Pearl? Greg? Connie? Amethyst could be her own pet, so there's that. When I originally watched Pool Hopping, Lars came to mind at the introduction of Cat Steven, but the more I pondered, the more Cat Steven seemed too on the nose to not have a greater meaning, and I began to humor the concept of Steven losing an eye. But a few days ago, a viewer was so kind to tag me in an Instagram post that was equipped of 2 more instances that alludes to this. So, shout out to Final Tribute on Instagram for tagging me in this, Forever Fusion on Instagram for reposting this, and Cliff08 on Tumblr for the original post and image, compiling these instances into an easily accessible guide. Possible foreshadowing for Steven losing his right eye includes when he gets hit in the right eyebrow in the episode Coach Steven, as a result from Sugalite's careless attitude and nature. In the aftermath of this incident, Steven, more or less overreacting, wraps the entirety of his right eye with a gauze. Steven even tries to play this off, stating it's battle damage from his last mission, only to get ridiculed rather quickly by Lars. The next instance, and definitely a much more severe altercation, is Steven's bruised right eye that he dons throughout Jailbreak and Full Disclosure, after receiving a headbutt from Jasper at the end of the return. Considering this is a staple of Jailbreak and lasted more than 1 episode, it really marked how powerful Jasper was as a character and established the gravity of the situation, how big it was for the series itself. Keep this in mind. Now, damage around an eye, or lack of an eye, is actually a recurring detail in the series. For human characters we have Lars and Sadie, who have scars both in the area of their right eyes. Just like Steven's bruise, these scars are representative of intense, life-changing situations for the characters, and serve as a reminder of said events that they see every time they glance at themselves. Lars of his death, and Sadie for when she stranded her and Lars and Steven on an island, purposely hiding their way home and saving Lars' life against a corrupted gem. So for Sadie, this represents a mistake and heroic decision she made. We also have Suitcase Sam in his left eye patch, which he doesn't actually need to wear as he has both eyes. Beyond the Beach City citizens, there's a multitude of gems who have one eye, whether or not there's a gemstone in place with their other eye. We have Sapphire, assumably Paparacha, Eyeball, Emerald, Squaredot, Centipedal, if her illustration's semi-healed form is any indication, and various members of the Famethist. Obviously, not all these are right eyes, but it's still common. Also, oddly enough, Amethyst and Smoky Quartz's left eyes are often covered by their hair. I'm not saying every single one of these point towards Steven losing his eye, but rather that him losing his eye falls in line with a design detail the Crewniverse is clearly fond of. On that note, as most of us are familiar with, Steven Universe is heavily influenced by anime and manga. A lot of those, especially shonen, feature characters missing an eye, usually the right eye, and the event surrounding it is of great importance to their own arcs and development. So why would Steven lose his right eye? Who would it be up against? And would he ever recover his eye through his powers? Well, I think Steven losing his eye would be a parallel and good step up from when his eyes was bruised against Jasper, serving a similar level of importance but on a much larger scale and duration. If a black eye was what he walked away from after a skirmish with a court soldier, losing an eye would be against a greater threat. Let's say emerald, or even a diamond. That would reinforce the notion that the diamonds are a force to be reckoned with, because lately the show hasn't done the greatest job of showing that. Whether it be yellow, blue, or white, if done right, it'd send chills to the audience. Honestly, I'd see it either being yellow or white, especially yellow. The saying an eye for an eye itself is the law of retaliation, that if a person injured someone else, they must be punished to the same degree. Okay, so Rose killed Pink Diamond, and literally losing an eye isn't quite on the same level, but also Steven didn't do it. He just hosts the same gemstone as the person who did. Just imagine Steven taking such a critical hit from a diamond head on, one that won't immediately heal, one he had to live with for the rest of his life. That's the development I want to see. It'd be another huge turning point for his character, especially if it was in the heat of the moment. If Steven was trying to protect someone else and took the fall, or even if he failed to save someone else. Him losing his right eye being representative of his downfall, setting the tone for a much darker story. As for if the censors would allow it, as long as there's no blood, I can see it. We saw Lars straight up die, so there goes most of the arguments against it right there. Temporary solutions include Steven getting an eye patch, which would be badass, or maybe even a glass eye. But let's say this did come to fruition. Could Steven ever heal his own eye? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say yes. Why? Steven's half organic, half gem. We know gems can regenerate, but it's been heavily telegraphed that if Steven poofs, he can't reform. He'll be gone forever. At the same time, we've seen him not only shapeshift, but create organic life forms with the cat figure. If he can produce miniature felines, assumably with their own little organs, he can create another eye. It'd more than likely be a character arc of his own, expanding across multiple episodes as Steven feels discouraged by the whole ordeal, affecting his powers. But when he regains that confidence back, he'll form and generate a new eye. Maybe that sounds a little lame, but it's also something predictable and tame I see the show doing. But as always, these are just my thoughts, my take on this theory, and I'd love to hear yours. Do you see Steven losing an eye? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below or tweet them directly to us at AwestruckVox and at Roundtable Vids. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to help us grow, join the Roundtable on Patreon. Get exclusive updates and perks, and have your name featured at the end of the video like all these beautiful, wonderful people. Also swing by our Teespring store, pick up some designs, link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications, stay in the loop with all things Steven. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. AwestruckVox out.